Jerry, I see you there. You waved. It says that I don't have any viewers. Cool. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why it says I don't have any viewers. Ah, but then it shows up. Okay. Well, whatever. Maybe it just needed a second because now it says that I have one. Cool. Okay. Um, can you remind me what your question was? It was about cover, I believe. Okay, cool. I wonder. I may have messed up. Can I change? No, I can't do it. I can't. I can't change my latency. Should have. Should have. Oh well. Hopefully it's not too spaced out. All right. What do we got here? Reference makes it sound like you can get cover from even though you're flanked as long as you're just. Okay, so that's that is not the case. Um, so let's take Mutant Thatcher here. So obviously, if Thatcher is in front of Mute, and if you draw the line of sight, you can obviously see that the line of sight crosses um, it crosses the obstacle space. So if any line of sight crosses not the obstacle itself, but the entire space, because as here you can see that technically all the obstacles are smaller than the spaces themselves. So um, this right here, mute does have protection because the line of sight crosses the obstacle. And then kind of what you're asking, let's say Thatcher drops down and then moves right here. Well, you are right. Mute is still adjacent, but because the line of sight does not cross an obstacle from this space, Mute does not get any protection from it. So, and then also to add, so let's say Thatcher is over here. So now Thatcher's behind a table and you draw a line of sight. Now, technically, the line of sight is crossing over an obstacle, but Mute is not adjacent to the obstacle the line of sight is crossing. Therefore, he still is not getting protection from it. If that makes sense, I assume that fits the bill for you. Um, that last part was edge of walls. Um, Well, let me. I'll go ahead and let you know something else too. So keep in mind. Let's see. Some wall edges seem to go past the square. Does that matter? Okay. So let's take this wall because that's doing exactly what you're asking. So yes, this wall does matter. The only walls, and then also you can see this light wall here. It does the same thing. So most of these walls that you can see, they are specifically designed in that manner, right? Like there's not even this one, the corner goes into this space. So those walls do matter if you are talking about line of sight. So that is by design. Um, one thing that I was going to mention, so because there's usually like a lot of stuff. So we established in this position, mute does have cover from the obstacle. Now, if we move Thatcher over here, and then we draw another line of sight, what you will see is that the line of sight still crosses the space the obstacle is in. So mute is still getting cover from that space. Now, if we move Thatcher one more space, right? So now, let's see, would mute have cover? So now, we've established mute does not have cover because Thatcher is making his angle a lot wider. So even though mute is adjacent to the obstacle, because line of sight is not crossing into the obstacle space, he is not getting any cover. One thing that is kind of iffy, like let's do this. Let's say we put mute and Thatcher right here. So you can see all the spaces are even, and but if we draw a line of sight, excuse me, to these two, what you will see happen is that the line of sight is crossing these edges. If a line of sight crosses the edge of the space, then that also is not providing cover. Like it actually has to cross into the space entirely. So just to make it simpler, if you put Thatcher here and if he shoots mute, because of how the spaces are, mute does not have cover because the line of sight crosses the edge of the space, not the space itself. So this is just one example right there, but you know, any this space, this space, or this space, because they all do the same thing, mute would not get cover from any of those spaces. Same thing applies to, let's put mute here and let's put Thatcher here. So they're in, if you draw a, let me see if I can do it here. Um, so let's do this really quick. Um, so we've got this really poorly, oh, that did not help at all. A very, oh, it's 3D now. That's dumb. A poorly drawn thing that I'm now going to erase because I don't want it there. Oh, please erase. Okay, there we go. But let's take let's use this. So technically, mute is adjacent to two obstacles right here. Now, the reason that I bring up this particular type of line of sight is the way that they are both positioned is the same as if they were positioned here. Because we talked about if line of sight crosses the edge, it is not a, there is no protection, even though mute would be adjacent. So if you look at this, so see that it's crossing the edge again. So you can expand these edges to give yourself like a good line of sight to prevent them from gaining protection. And there's like so many different things. And usually, if you can see it, it's like it's they're like mirror angles that I refer to them as. I'm trying to see if there's anything. There's not really any like really big rooms. I guess we could use this out here just to get whoops, some examples. So some good things. So if you, I guess if you can write it down or if there's any way, but so like this line of sight would cross the edge. Um, if we scoot him back 2 more, line of sight will cross the edge. Um, there are a couple other. Whoops. Yeah, so like this one would not work. But I do know if it's like a. Oh, this was a good one. So I had a game the other day, and this'll kind of we were just using some open space. So this will give you a little bit more context about it. But it was the same thing. So if you notice, they are both in a 2 by 4 area of space between them. Is how I like to look at that. So they're in a you got 2 spaces and then 1, 2, 3, 4. But like we discussed, because I in one of my games I got a kill, the line of sight crosses the edge of the space. So thus that gives me a good shot, and the opponent does not get any protection. So I don't know if it would help you. You could write something down that's like if 2 opposing operators are in a 2 by 2 space, um, there's no protection. You could write down if operators are in a 2 by 4 space, they get no protection. Um, a 3, well, in this particular instance, he would get it, but yeah. So like, let's put mute here. Like, how does well, I th so I th Thatcher's there, mute's there. So in this instance, if you can see up towards the end of where my cursor is, the line is crossing into the obstacle space. Mute does have protection from that. And then I think, as you were asking, so that one does not work. Does that one? Trying to find a good that that. Yeah, those are all legal. Um, yeah, hopefully, I guess that's it for now. I don't wanna add. I've already talked a whole lot about that, but there's there's a lot to learn there. Do you got anything else within that you might want me to try and delve deeper into, or any other sort of questions? Let's see. Bulldog versus Scott. You were asking them to declare range and cover and line of sight. Not quite sure what you were wanting there too. I didn't get to watch much of that match. If you explain. So specifically with them, and I guess you would sort of fit in there too. I was I hold on. I'm trying to. I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to just think how to lay that out. Um, One of the thing between them, they kept asking me if they had line of sight, and I was trying to sort of coax them into doing it the proper way, the way that it is written in the rule. Um, So one thing that players do that it's I understand why they do it. You know, everybody's playing, they're excited about, doing things and whatnot. But you one thing that they were doing is if one player was calling a shot on another player, the we will not the actual defenders, but the player that was being shot at was calling out what sort of protection they had. It is they that particular player should not be doing that. They need to wait for the active player to call out what the protection is, as well as if they have line of sight. So, uh, one thing specifically, you wrote that I had asked them to declare range. That's range is not something you can challenge. I misspoke on that particular thing. Um, but the only two things that you can challenge in a we'll talk specifically for a shoot action. The only two things that you can or that you have to call out is whether or not you have line of sight and what type of protection the inactive player has. So if if I'm the active player and if I'm just to make sure that like a visual will help you. If I'm the active player, I'm Thatcher. I'm attackers. So I 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, Mute isn't in Overwatch. He can't do anything. So now I am claiming. I say Thatcher is going to shoot Mute. And then I say I have line of sight and you have light protection. Well, then the defender can then challenge my call. In which case, this is a very obvious call. The defender is not going to challenge it. And then once they either agree or challenge my call, after that bit gets resolved, then we move on to the range. So now Mute is 1, 2. He is 3 spaces away. So we would do Thatcher's 1 to 3 range. But like yeah, what a lot of players have been doing is that if I move here and if I say I'm gonna shoot Mute, well the defending player is always like, okay, well I've got light protection. That's not It's not against the rules, but the way that it is written in the rules because it is something that you can challenge. So let's say we're doing this. I'll just put something up really quick just to sort of whoops, that's not good. Just to sort of showcase. So let's say, and just for the sake of it, Mute is marked. So let's say I move Thatcher. I'm attackers again, and I'm playing against someone who's defending. So with Thatcher, I go 1, 2. I move, and then I say, okay, Thatcher is going to shoot Mute. I can declare I have line of sight because he's marked, and you have light protection. And then that's when I wait for the defender to challenge. In this instance, the defender would challenge because what I claimed is that I have line of sight, which is correct. I do have line of sight because Mute is pinged, but I also claimed that Mute has light protection, when in fact Mute has heavy protection. He has heavy protection because of the cover that he is adjacent to, that he's behind, but he also gets protection because I am shooting through an additional obstacle. So that's why it's important to, if you are the inactive player, do not call out what you know you have. Wait for the active player to tell you what they think, because I've messed up on this specific thing a lot. Like I have had somebody marked, I did have a barricade, but they were next to something else to like get cover. I'm pretty sure that still, yeah, that still has line of sight, but like it's a thing that hopefully people can get used to, um because especially with like a competitive aspect, there's a lot of talking going on back and forth when really it's supposed to just kind of be one person talking, not both people talking at the same time. So I guess if line of sight right, but you say cover wrong, do you still get the shoot? Um, yes, yes, or I'm pretty sure you still get to shoot. The only thing that I can think of that would happen, um, it would just be because I know for challenges you can it's either add 30 seconds to your time or subtract 30 seconds to your opponent's time. But if there is a so I believe the shoot would still happen. You would just then do it under the new conditions of originally I claimed that I have line of sight and you have light protection when in fact you have heavy. So we would still do the shoot. They would just get the heavy protection and then take 30 seconds away from my time. Um, the Now that you've brought that up, before I move on to your next question, um, let's say let's say Mute's here and he's pinged. So if I come over here, and I believe this is the case, but if I come over here and claim that I have line of sight to Mute because he is marked, which does give me line of sight through the barricade, um, he can challenge it, and then again, if it gets challenged, well, let me do it this way. So as you can see towards the end there, my line of sight crosses that indestructible wall, which means I do not have line of sight. In this instance, I believe what happens is because I have called a shoot action, that action has now been consumed for the rest of this turn. So I can't. I'm pretty sure that you are not allowed to say, oh, you're right, I don't have line of sight. Okay, well, let me move over here and then I'll shoot this person instead. Because you have called an action which ended up not being legal, you've still consumed that action. It's the same as if you are about to drone a room that has a mute jammer in it. Well, if you've already used your drone and if you haven't moved into the room yet, you can't take the drone back. Normally you wouldn't be able to take the drone back. You would have to be like you'd have to realize like, "Oh, dang, I used the drone, but I literally can't get into this room because it's got a mute jammer and I don't have anywhere else for my drone to go. Therefore, your drone just gets consumed. Like you get to use the drone, you just can't do what you thought you were going to be able to do." Um, so hopefully a good bit of that was covered. And sorry if I'm talking too fast. If you are trying to take notes on some stuff, hopefully they're at least simple notes. But this will be up as a VOD, so you could watch this again if you needed to. What was the other thing? Yes. How does the defender call that challenge? He says, "I challenge you," or says, "I challenge the cover you claim." You would just challenge the whole thing. Um, yeah, you would just challenge the whole thing because that's as I had mentioned before. I had misspoke when I said that you can challenge range. You cannot challenge range. You can only challenge line of sight and or protection rating. Hmm. All right, Twitch drone. What are we doing with Twitch drone? So all of the drones. So that would be Twitch, that would be Flores, um, and the tactical inventory. They all do. I only know it shoot, but it does at least. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So all the drones, despite all three of these drones being different, they do all scan. It's just that Flores and Twitch's drone they're just stronger tactical drones. Um, in which case for Twitch's drone, you see, and it even says on completing a scan. So drones will always mark, um, excuse me, at like they are supposed to. So hers says on completing the scan, which is what you had just asked, you get to roll a red die, and then for each hit rolled, perform the destroy yellow action on an electronics gadget in the scanned room. Um, so yes, and then Flores he just does extra. He just does like some what is it? Was it like reconstruction on like a room? You can blow up stuff. Um, but yes, all drones will do the basic action of scanning an entire room. Um, it's not just the regular drone. So Flores and Twitch just have a regular drone with added bonus. No, no, um, they've just made the drones like unique so that they don't all necessarily do the same thing. Um, if you notice too, there are like some other operators, like Fuse for instance. It is kind of cool how they do that. You know what? I won't get into that since you've already got your stuff. We can cover that stuff later. Uh, not that. Oh, I hate that. Hey, what up, Ethan? Um, Sledge Glass. Does he reveal the hostage? Um, he does not. He can only reveal hidden operator tokens, not hidden hostage tokens. Oh God, excuse me. Um, Sledge breaks something, then moves in and can break something else or shoot someone. But that's all one action. Yes, it is one full entire action, so nothing else can happen until the entirety of the action or actions, we'll call it, is all resolved. Um, so we can look at this. So he can shoot or destroy again after that, since it was to yes. So Sledge is one of the handful of operators who can technically perform two shoot actions during one activation, because that's where your free actions come from. So within Sledge's entire um, special gadget action, he gets if we read it here, deployable ignoring maximum of one light wall or barricade. So his first free action, perform a destroy orange action in the targeted space, and then you can place your miniature in it, so you kind of get like a free move of one. Um, and then it says you may then perform a shoot and or keep that in mind, and or you can technically do both of those for the second bit of his ability. Um, but they can only be in one space adjacent to your new position. Um, so he technically has a maximum of three free actions. One first the destroy, then a shoot and or a second destroy. So if we are, oh, am I gonna have to do that again? Damn. Okay, whatever. We'll do this again. Let me find like a neat little. Ooh, this is a good spot over here. So, and I'll just turn them this way so we can see, but also so you can see. There's a barbed wire. There's the thing. Yeah, yeah. Technically, he can. Let me make sure that you didn't add anything else to that. Yeah. So, um, again, with Sledge's ability, I'll open it back up. So you can't use his ability while leaning, obviously as it's listed, and it is deployable. Um, oh, excuse me. Keep burping. So yeah, perform a destroy orange action in the targeted space. Then place your miniature in it. That's the first bit of the action. And then the second bit, if keep in mind, is a may. It says you may then perform these other things. You do not have to. So, if we are activating his ability, Sledge is right here. We are ignoring a barricade, and we are targeting the space next to it, or basically the opposite side. So the way his ability works, we are performing the destroy action in everything in this space, which in this case would be the barbed wire. Um, Let me just then place your miniature in it. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So yes, so it'll destroy everything in this space, which is the barbed wire. It is also the barricade, because barricades, whether they're windows or doors, they belong in both spaces. And that's all. It's this barricade, this barricade, this barricade. They all belong into both sides that they are adjacent to. So we perform the destroy action in this space, getting rid of the barbed wire and the barricade. Then we place him in it. That's the first bit of his activation. Then the second bit, you may then perform a shoot and or destroy orange action in one space adjacent to your new position. So So you move him one space, and then in this particular room, you now have two other spaces that you can interact with. You can let me turn this way now. Grab some breaches. So now, and again, you do not have to. I'll grab the Glaz. I'm just gonna pretend Glaz is an enemy. So let's say Glaz. We'll put him right here because he can see. Um, the technically the wire and the barricade, they get destroyed at the same time. Because if you are performing the destroy action in that space, it's getting rid of anything in that space, whether it's one, two, or somehow three things, which I'm pretty sure is impossible to do. But it all gets destroyed at the same time. Yes, yes, all from one destroy. So let's do it like this. Let's say let's say it was like this, and I'll just grab his card. I'll just bring it over here so we kind of got it. Right. So we use his ability, deployable, ignoring a maximum of one light wall or barricade. Perform the destroy orange action in the targeted space. So we are choosing to ignore this barricade, and we are targeting this space. We are performing the destroy orange, so this goes away. Then we place our miniature in the space. Then we do the second bit. You may then perform a shoot and or destroy action in one space adjacent to your new position. Let's say we target this space. We are now performing a second destroy orange action as listed in the ability, and we are doing two things at once. We are destroying this barbed wire. We are also destroying this light wall because it exists in this space that we targeted. Yep. Um, I would a quick add to that. So because the second part of his ability is a may, you do not have to do it. Um, yeah. So let's say we do the same thing. Whoops. So we do the same thing, but let's say this Glaz is a defender. Now, what you can do, use his ability as we said. We're going to ignore the barricade, perform the destroy action in the next space. We get rid of the barricade, we move into the next space. Well, because we know Glaz is an enemy, and for the second bit, because it is a may, well, if we target this space to perform the second destroy action, what's going to end up happening is now you have created a line of sight for Glaz, who will then get to riposte because you have now completed your ability. You've completed a full action, and because you have now made a line of sight, Glaz will get to riposte against you. So in another world, what we do is instead of performing the destroy action in that space, we perform it in this space. And then that allows us to potentially move around to get a flank or something like that. Uh-oh. Oh, there he is. Yeah. Now that I think about it, because there might be some stuff that I know that might not cross your mind. So, and specifically, I will only focus on Capkin right now. So, Capkin, we see, so he's a trapper. He's got his reaction, and then his reaction applies after moving through a door or window. An opposing operator sustains 2 damage. The opposing operator may spend an extra action to ignore this effect. Capkin is very interesting with Sledge because of it is because of the line, then place your miniature in it. So what ends up happening, whoops, that's Glass. What's Sledge? What's Sledge? Yeah. So what ends up happening, we'll just put Capkin here just because. Um, so if we use Sledge's ability, well, because we are moving into the next space, you are crossing a barricade. Sorry, you are crossing a window, which is something that can trigger Capkin. So in this instance, what can happen is you've used Sledge's ability in this space. You have moved through a window. Now Capkin can react to that, but I think more so he would, if you are playing with or against a Capkin, the reaction can be called after Sledge has completed his entire ability. Um, it's not really an interrupt. It's um it's more of just like that because Sledge is doing or uh hold on, trying to think of how to word it. It's not an interrupt. And he's the only one that can interrupt Sledge's gadget. Um So Capkin would not his Capkin's effect, which is in this case 2 damage, that would not be applied on the Sledge until after Sledge has completed his entire special gadget action. And on top of that, it's not just Capkin, but it is Sledge has this same interaction with every single trapper. He has the same interaction with Capkin. Well, he has this interaction with Capkin. He has the same thing with Frost if he uses his ability and the space that he moves into happens to have an obstacle. Frost could call her thing. Question, question. Um, so you're talking about. So yeah, let's say Sledge is right here. We'll take Capkin out of Overwatch to just not add that element into it. So what you can do is you can um you can use uh yes, this is still one window. So no matter which of these two spaces you target from the outside where Sledge is, I mean Sledge can be right here. No matter which one of these you target, it gets rid of the entire thing. Um, but I think what you might be asking is you can use Sledge's ability in this space, which would perform the orange destroy action, which this window is a part of. You would get rid of it, and then Sledge would move in this space. And now he can perform a second orange destroy action in any adjacent space. In in this scenario, there's nothing left for him to destroy. But again, and he also cannot shoot because no one is um, adjacent to him for him to shoot. And a really quick add to again with the Capkin thing, and this also applies to the other trappers. If you do use his ability, so we've established that if you use his ability in here, you get to destroy and then you move, and then now you complete the second part of your ability if you are able to. Once Sledge's action is completed, not his activation, but just his ability, then Capkin can say, okay, I'm using my reaction on your Sledge. Um, and then if Sledge has one more action left, you can use your action to avoid the Capkin. If Sledge if Sledge's second action was his ability, he now has no more actions to spend to avoid the 2 damage from Capkin, so he will take 2 damage. However, let's say Capkin is not in the safety of the far corner of the room. Let's say Capkin is right here. Well, now what happens? You use Sledge's ability, you target the space ignoring the barricade, you perform the Destroy Orange action, you then move into said space, you've crossed it, so now the Capkin player can, at least for the time being, think about if they want to use their reaction or not. But now what you do, because you've only completed half of Sledge's full ability, you now get to perform either a shoot or a destroy action in an adjacent space. Well, if Capkin so happens to be in an adjacent space that you can perform your your shoot action in, you can potentially kill Capkin before he can call his reaction from you using your ability through the window. That is the only way that Sledge can avoid having to deal with any trapper in that manner. Hopefully that blew your mind. But like I said, specifically Sledge, he has the same interaction with all trappers. Um, he has it with Capkin. He has it with Frost. He has it with Ella, with Legion, um, Aruni. Uh, Not so much Goyo because Goyo has uh like the fire overlay, so it might be a little bit tricky with that, but yeah, that basically that sort of experience and that sort of scenario can be applied to all of the trappers. If you can if you trigger them by entering a space from his ability, if you can kill them before, or well, if you don't kill them during the ability, they will get to react to whatever you had done that procced them. Saw Ash. Let's do Ash. Let me just delete that. I think we're done with you for the time being. And then I'm done with you for the time being. Okay, so what do we got on Ash? Ash's breaching rounds can shoot through a barricade and destroy a camera or basically anything without breaking the barricade, right? Yes. So, um, for her, it is line of sight, but you get to ignore a barricade. So those two kind of like counter each other in a sense in like normal rules, but specifically they are saying for Ash what you can do, and this is Consulate's one of my favorite maps to use her, because I do like to use her specifically in this room as well as the bathroom. So So like we can do this. Let me read it ability. So line of sight, ignoring a maximum of one barricade. Perform a destroy orange action in the targeted space and a space orthogonally adjacent to it. So if we take Ash and she is right here, um, we can in line of sight and ignore a barricade. We will pick this space because this space is in line of sight, but we're also ignoring one barricade. So in this space and this space only, we get to destroy this barricade. And then now we get to destroy one more space that is orthogonally adjacent to the space we targeted. So we can actually destroy either one of these walls, all without getting rid of this barricade. Um, but again, you do have to have, as it mentioned, you do have to have line of sight. So even though this barricade's in the way, you are allowed to ignore it, but you just need to make sure that your basic line of sight, um, um, what am I trying to say? That your basic line of sight can target the space. Um, so you could even do something like, let's put her in the same position. Uh, Keep in mind her ability, it's just line of sight. Technically, line of sight is infinite unless it is broken by an operator or a smoker gas overlay or like a barricade or something like that. Um, but let's do just a quick. I'm gonna I'm gonna face the camera outside, but the camera is in this room. Well, I'll turn it. We both know what's going on. So you could also use her ability in a sense of here. Let's do this. Let's add a little bit of flair to it. So because this square right here is one of my favorite squares on Consulate. This will get you crazy lines of sight. I will leave it to you to discover what all you can do from this space. But um, let's use Ash's ability. Let me try and find a here. I'll just do it this way. I'll turn her that way. So she's outside. Um, let's target this space. So as we had mentioned very early before, talking about like mirrored angles, uh, any, not any, a majority of 2 by 3 spaces have line of sight to each other. And just for the sake of it, I'll get rid of the barricade. But you can see you draw a line of sight through the window, but it's the line isn't broken by either of the indestructible walls. So what we could do, I'm just going to turn the camera so we can see kind of what's going on. So the camera is in this space right here, and then we are using Ash's ability. We are targeting this space because it is in line of sight, and we are ignoring a barricade. Well, now you can perform the destroy orange action in this space, which will destroy the camera. And then now you can choose one orthogonally adjacent space, which in this case you only have these 3. So, obviously, we will target this space. Now we get to destroy both of these. You get to, like with Sledge, you get to destroy, well, you destroyed one thing in one space, but then with the same destroy action or ability, you are destroying 2 additional things. So, technically, we destroyed 3 things with one text of perform a destroy action. Um, We can also do just like a really quick thing. Keep in mind with her, that's strong. Wouldn't have thought of that. So with her, the only space that you need line of sight of is your originally targeted space. You don't need line of sight to the orthogonal space adjacent to it. It's just the space that you target. So let's do this for instance. Let's say you've got Ash down here, um, and we'll add a little bit. So, cause she is, so yeah. So perform a destroy orange action, and because line of sight, as I told you earlier, it is infinite range. Um, but Ash can do. You can use her ability. Let's say Ash is right here, and then we target this space all the way over here. So we're ignoring only one barricade. Let's say the window's already destroyed, but yeah, you're ignoring one barricade. You can target this space, so you get to perform a destroy orange action in this space and one orthogonally adjacent space, which the camera so happens to be in, so you can get rid of the camera. In Penta's last match, someone put a cam outside. I think they didn't figure out if that was actually something they could do. Do you know if that's something you can do? Yes, you can. You can put things outside, like a barbed wire, and we'll use. So Consulate only has one outside area. Um, but if you see the dotted, and it's a little, you can see it right here, but you see like the dotted line around the space, that signifies that this is a room. But yes, the room is outside of, the map itself. So, if you wanted to, you could you could totally do this. Um, I guess we'll say for the sake of setup, let's say you bring one shield and then two bulletproof cameras, right? Like you can legitimately set both of these cameras outside. Now, it's not recommended on this map particularly because uh-oh, where'd she go? There she is. And she does have like the destruction rate. But just for the way that this map is laid out, let's put the shield. Let's put the shield right there, just because. Well, to answer your question, yes, this is totally allowed. You can't put them in these spaces though. They have to be uh in uh uh areas that are considered rooms. And specifically on Clubhouse, yes, it's a pretty viable option too. Like it's not a bad play to make. It's a really good one. Room, can attackers deploy there, or is that just not an area they can deploy? Just the black. Yeah, so attackers cannot deploy themselves in rooms. Even if the room is outside, they are not allowed to do that. That's why they have all these perimeter spaces. So just in this, well, I guess it doesn't matter if I move everything. Well, whatever. But so yeah, because this is a room, you are not allowed to do this, but you can do this. Like you have to be just on the outside of it, and then just for the here, let me just load a new game really quick. Let's do Clubhouse for instance, because that'll be easier, and because this has so many more outside areas. So like this area right here, you see the dotted line, so you know this is a room, but you can only start in these spaces. Um, this as well is a room. You are not allowed to start there. You have to start on the outside areas, and then this is a room. This is a room. This is a room. But again, you have to start in these. Now you can start in these areas right here, but they're still not a part of the roomed areas that are outside. So these are the perimeter spaces. No. Remember, Capcan can only trigger if you go through a window or a door. But to technically go further into your question, Ela. Ela is I'm trying to I don't have her profile pulled up right now, but Ela does trigger from what they call room perimeters. So we can do. I'm trying to see if there's like an easier spot to see it. I guess we can see this. So you see that there's an X here. So this X means that there is a door that can go there. Let me just pull up the bomb. I think the bomb has it. I hope. Oh, it doesn't have it. Oh well. So this X, like let's put this door there. Well, sorry, we don't actually need the door, but if you can see that this space and this space are a part of two separate rooms. And Ela specifically uh, can trigger with an operator moving from one room perimeter to another room perimeter. you think that's all you have written? Um, I can add to that really quick. Just with a super quick thing. Where is he at? Yeah, if you're yeah, no problem. It's just this game's a whole lot of information. It's you no one's gonna retain it like no one's gonna retain it the first read through. I've read the rule book like 7 or 8 times and I still mess up on stuff. Um, but there's just a lot of things that it's not that they're not written down or well, I guess it is that they aren't written down, but like you also need to kind of just be in that situation to actually realize that oh, this is a thing that I can do or a thing that I can't do. Um, but before you go, I have one more thing for you to write down that will be very important. Um, Jaeger. So his reaction is when an opposing operator tosses a throwable gadget into a room, ignore the gadget. Its charge is lost. Excuse me. The opposing operator may spend an extra action to ignore this effect. Now, unlike Kapkan and the other actual trappers, Frost, Ella, Legion, um, Goyo, there's a you can counter Jaeger pretty hard, I think. Um, I didn't know that it was a thing, and it was brought up to me like a couple days ago or like last week, and I've been able to abuse it a couple times. So I've always sort of misread how it is, but I won't explain it in that way. But I do want you to keep this in mind. So operators have 3 actions for their activation. They have their move action, which is the base movement of 5, and then they have 2 other actions that they can do from shoot, um, destroy, tactical inventory, their special ability. Um, why am I forgetting what else they have? I guess that is Overwatch, Run. What I would like to point out is that you can actually use your entire movement action to counter Jaeger. But the only way to do that is you are not allowed to move your operator like at all. If you use your movement to counter Jaeger, you have to have it has to be the full 5, and you can't. So ideally, well, not ideally, but you can't move one space, throw a throwable, Jaeger counters it, and then you say I'm going to use my movement. You have to throw the throwable first. Then if Jaeger counters it, you can say, okay, I'm going to spend all of my movement as an action to ignore the effect of Jaeger. And what that allows you to do is now you've used 2 of your 3 actions, but you still have like an actual action that you can use. And probably the best one to use after that is like Overwatch. Um, but as as far as I know, I think Jaeger is the only one that you can do that with. Um, and that reason being is that all of the trappers, in order to proc them, you have to move into whatever their specified space is. So take Kapkan for instance. You can't cross from here to here without using a movement. Um, Actually, to be honest, I think Sledge is the only one who could do that. Because if you have Sledge here, and if you use his ability, because his ability gives him sort of a free movement, you can move here, Capkin will trigger, and you'll say, okay, I'll use my movement to counter it. So Sledge can counter the trappers by giving up all of his movement, as long as he's already one space away um, from whatever space triggers the trappers or trapper or trappers. Which I didn't think of that until literally just now. So see, I'm still figuring stuff out too. So if you are playing against a Jaeger, try to keep that in mind of attempting to position your operator either for the next round or even during your setup. Go ahead and put them in a good spot where you can throw a good grenade, whether it's a frag or an EMP from Thatcher or a smoke, and then if they do try to counter it, you can just be like, well, I'll just use my movement, and then you can, perform whatever other action. Um, I do think that I had that Jaeger trick of giving up all my movement, and it was like one of my last two. Well, not the last two, because the last one I did was one of our tournament games. It was like one of the two streams before that where I was playing against a Jaeger, and then he kept reacting to my throwables, but I hadn't moved my operator, so I was just like, okay, I'll just give up my movement, and then I put my operator in Overwatch. So I was still able to get two really good actions in. Yeah, sure. What deployable gadgets are you bringing with you? In what sense do you mean? Do you mean as like a defender, like what setup gadgets, or as an attacker? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, the attacker's got three deployables. You've got the drone, you've got the breach, and then you've got the claymore. Or are you talking about operator gadgets abilities? Like in the game, if you can bring nades, you bring nades, but is that the case here? Um, so, well, in here, so specifically what you're talking about, like talking about grenades, we'll just use the attacker side because they're the ones who has it. So you get, well, here, I'll zoom in, so we can see. So the attacker automatically gets 3 drone charges, and then the attacker gets 6 more Doing this like a peasant. But then the attacker gets 6 more cubes, and then you get to choose where those go. So you can do like all of this. This. Whoops. This is probably like the most standard thing that you can do. Bring kind of one of each. Well, you'll bring at least one of each, and then 2 of something else that you think you're really gonna need. I would probably bring a second frag. But no, I know what you're talking about because in the video game, um, certain operators bring specific deployable stuff. But in this case, uh, that is not the same. You can bring whatever you want. So if you are asking what I would bring, that honestly all depends on who I'm playing against. Not which player am I playing against, but what operators is my opponent bringing. And it also goes to what operators am I bringing. I hopefully that answered your question. I thought that's the direction you were going in. When touched, so the way the claymore works, which I'll just bring it up here just so that we can read it. Where's it at? The very bottom corner. So claymore is deployable. Um, you also see that it's got the yellow triangle by its name. That means that it has a destroy rating of yellow. So any operator with yellow destroy, which is at least everybody, they can use their destroy action to get rid of the claymore. But it says a claymore is tripped if an opposing operator enters the space containing the claymore or the space targeted by its arrow. So that's either the claymore itself, like the space the claymore is in, or one space adjacent to the direction the arrow is pointing in. And I will show you the oh, where's it at? Here it is. So there's the claymore. So you can see where the arrow is pointing for it. Um, so in this instance, one thing that people really like to do, if that's, let's say this is over here. So attackers will be right here, and then they'll put a claymore right here. Is the claymore exploded when touched and when someone? So yeah. So if a defending, because again, was it this side? So it does say that if an opposing operator, so an attacking or uh, in this case, an attacker can walk through a claymore without it going off. Also, an attacker, if they choose to, not that you ever really would, but as an attacker, you can use your destroy action to destroy the claymore. And then it says when it's tripped, operators. So that's both attackers and defenders. It claymores do not discriminate. But operators in the space containing the claymore or in adjacent spaces sustain 2 red die damage. So, um, I know well, yeah, we'll just, I mean, where's a good spot? We'll just put it right here. Let's just say it's right here. So the claymore's here. It is watching this space. So there could be a defender upstairs. And then let's say if you're right here and then you have an operator in this space. Let's say there's your attacker, which is the bomb. If the defender comes down here, well, the defender has now entered a space which triggers the claymore. So it blows up the claymore, and then both of these operators will take, you'll roll them separately, but both of them will take 2 orange die damage, um, equal to whatever the value of the roll was. Um, and I guess the kind of the other part of your question, if let's say the claymore was looking the opposite direction, well, if a defender comes down, then no, the claymore will not set off because the claymore is watching this space. So now the defender can move freely as long as they don't hit the space that is being targeted. Yeah, that'll be good. Um, yeah, hopefully you got your little cheat sheet down. Who you're playing? You're playing Snap. Snap's very knowledgeable as well. Um, but also I think me and Penta will be there, so there will be stuff that we can ask. And I think Snap has already said himself that while playing, he will be kind of lenient, which is fine. Um, I think in the future it might be better if we can get newer players in their own group, um, versus kind of what we got going on now. But that'll we'll just have to deal with that later. So, but yeah, like we'll all be around so we can help out where necessary. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's kind of anything else. I think some of these other things, it's hard for me to think of just until that sort of situation pops up again, and then it's like, oh, that's right, that's a thing to mention. Yeah, I mean, if you not that we would be strict, but I would say maybe probably one of the good things for you to learn with what you just said is like what we can do. What I was planning on doing is if somebody did have a question, for a ref, then at least for me, I wasn't gonna stop the timer to explain a rule, but I would try to explain it as quickly and easily as I could. So that could be maybe be a thing. But yeah, we'll be there. We'll be able to help you again. I think Snap said that he will probably help you too. I know we didn't get to be there for how many games have we played? I think we've only had 3 games played, and only one of them had a ref. I guess technically one of them had somebody who could be a ref playing and whatnot. But yeah, we'll get you down. Um, I would say if you just it's not like a rule thing, but it's kind of just like maybe just a thing for you to write in big bold letters. Maybe put it at the top of your paper. If you just don't know what to do for your turn, then just kind of, I don't want to say clump up your team, but keep your team close together. Because it makes things really easier, like a lot easier when you are trying to either defend yourself or maybe take control of a room because you have more people in the same area doing that. But like also if you just don't know what to do with an operator, try to put them in a relatively safe place and then just put them in Overwatch. Don't even bother about doing like a whole bunch of stuff because there will be nothing wrong. And even if you just keep putting your people in Overwatch until like the third or fourth round, like maybe you might not win, but it'll get you, it'll help your mind thinking about like what can I do, what should I do, um, and things like that. But I would recommend if you do not know what to do, just make sure your operators are all close together and just just put them in Overwatch just so you can, at least try to defend yourself. Yeah, like I'll say just let me let me restart this just really quick and then I'll just give you, cuz did you have a buy this this first week? So you're hold on. What the hell? What is today? I may have to look. But you are going to be playing, you're playing Consulate Bomb, correct? I think you're playing Consulate Bomb. Oh, did you already play? Oh, you did, you had a buy. That's what it was. Oh, okay. Oh, well that's great. So you are playing what's it called? Let me recall that. You're playing, which is Club Hostage. Club Hostage. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So what I would suggest is um you can either put I'd put like all of your guys like right here. Maybe you can put one or two over here, but you got to be careful with all of these windows. But just put all of your operators like in the same, like this is another good spot. Put like 3 or 4 of your operators here, and then like 1 or 2 operators down here, just because like they're all on the same side of the map, and then but they can all help each other out while you're trying to like push in. Like if you've played the video game before, which I'm sure that you've had, you notice, like a lot of the stuff that you are trying to typically do, you're like doing it with teamwork. Like you've got, okay, here's my hard breacher. As soon as he hard breaches this person's gonna throw a smoke grenade in there. This person's gonna throw a frag. This person's gonna cause a distraction. Like uh, it's like trying to in the video game, all of this stuff is happening at once. No. Well, it depends. If you're an attacker, you are not allowed to start in the upper floor. But you do have all these blue entryway spaces that are just like easily accessible. The defender cannot interact with those anyways. But if you are a defender, you are allowed to start upstairs. Or you can only have up to 2 operators start upstairs. And we are playing the forward planning module, which gives you a little bit more freedom for sort of reconstructing the map, um, by like moving doors and cameras and stuff like that. If you haven't really been able to mess with the TTS that much, I would maybe just recommend keeping everything where it's at. Um, unless you're just unless you like specifically know, like, I don't want to deal with this. That way that you don't maybe potentially hurt yourself too much because you've moved too many things around. Because all the maps and game modes have specific components set up for like the cameras, the entryway hatches, doors, barbed wire, things like that. um I mean, I think for the time being, that's all I got. If you, I don't know when you're headed off. I know you don't have too much longer for work though, so we got to cover a lot, and we did it for most of the time too. If you got anything else, I don't know if you just had a piece of paper with you or like a notebook. Write down anything else, and then maybe tomorrow. I have to see. I might be in someone's game tomorrow, but um, we can do something else like this, you know, because if you're thinking about it, you're bound to think of stuff, and I know for some people it's a lot easier to like visually see kind of what's going on for doing examples and whatnot. So yeah, just get write down anything else that you can think of in the meantime, because you don't play until Thursday. I think you said Thursday, but you don't even play until like late, anyways. All right. Well, if anything does change, with within between now and before your game, let me know. And then if you did have other questions, then we can do this again. Just if you got some time. No worries. There'll be more time for your next game too. And then I guess absorb all the content that you possibly can. I need to. Uh, I haven't made my consulate guide video yet, but I've got like some I took some pictures. I'm trying to figure out how I want to actually do the video, but I do have some pictures saved of like I was just looking at the board and then I just like painted a bunch of dots everywhere to show. So I need to try and get that out, or at least hurry up and figure out how I want to present that video, if I want to do a stream of it or like an actual video. But all right, man. Well, I think that's all that I got. I think for now that's all that you got. And then I'll see you in the Discord and or see you on Thursday. Yeah, you too. Have a good night.